It is Earth Day. Happy birthday, Earth Day. Did you get all earthy? Did you roll yourself in peat moss and nibble granola bits from your lover's toes? No matter how firmly you adhere to the idea of global climate change, how often you recycle, or whether or not you water your garden with sad tears of our ultimate carbon destruction, people, by and large, are losing faith in the green movement. It was bound to happen, this thing fueled by hysteria and magical thinking. And our climate may still tank. We don't know. That's the point. But it's a funny thing. When you scream from the melting mountaintops, the world is ending, and the world pretty much stays the same, the exhortation falls on deaf ears. So what's the remedy? Scream louder, I guess. It's downright hysterical. Get in here, you damn hippie. This is The Independence. Well, hello and happy Tuesday. I'm Kennedy, your hostess, along with Reason Magazine editor-in-chief Matt Welch. And look, no one's wearing green so far. And Camille Foster from Free Think Media. Yep, beige and cream, very classy. And together we are The Independence. Boom, boom, boom. All right, well, I put on a green sweater and poked around with a camera and a microphone right here in New York City to see if any climate-minded New Yorkers had any idea it was Earth Day. Do you know Thomas Jefferson invented Earth Day?
Really?
Yes.
I didn't.
Well, I just made that up.
Okay.
And Earth Day is made up too. What are you doing to celebrate?
Gonna have a nice dinner with my family.
What are you doing to celebrate Earth Day?
Earth Day. It's Earth Day today.
It's Earth Day.
Well, I had no idea it was Earth Day.
Nothing.
What? But the Earth is crying because you're not celebrating.
Because there's too many humans.
Oh no, what should we do about that?
Kill them.
Making sure pick up my rubbish.
We should pick up your garbage too.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was Earth Day.
It is.
But I participated in the first Earth Day.
You
so thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
We just went to the Today Show and we got T-shirts that say Universal Recycling.
I'm going to a macrobiotic restaurant.
Is that true?
That is true.
Do you need me to save you?
No, I love the food.
I'm gonna continue on shopping because I just won over 200 grand on a lotto ticket.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No.
You lying?
We're gonna go grab a glass of wine.
A glass of wine, and we're going to use real glass. And,
Yeah, not drinking out of plastic.
So we're recycling.
And we're gonna recycle the cork probably.
And the pork, which I do at Whole Foods.
I do recycle though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. That's
You know
about
that
it.
recycling is useless?
Is it?
Yeah, it's scientifically proven it does nothing.
I have no idea. I didn't even realize it was Earth Day.
Yeah, it is.
But I do scientifically
And it's
useless
raining.
things.
Earth Day, Earth Day, Earth Day, Earth Day. It's such a beautiful song.
That's not a song.
Yeah,
So
we're
touching.
recording that next week. It's going to be really good. It's going to go to the top of the Twitter charts.
What's it called?
It's called Earth Day. Earth Day. Don't make me sing it again. Because the earth will cry. All right, well, people are all mixed up about global warming, according to a new Gallup poll. They just don't know. The number of respondents who claim to be skeptical about climate change doubled from 12% in 2001 to 25% today. That means a quarter of you think John Kerry and Bill Nye are full of hot garbage. But why is that? Maybe it's because they're being held hostage by hysterics like Chris Hayes, who tweeted out, quote, "Check out my essay for The Nation on the parallels between the abolition of slavery and today's climate fight." The president got in. He likes the action. He proclaimed, "The overwhelming judgment of science tells us that climate change is altering our planet in ways that will have profound impact on all of humankind." Salon conflated two Democratic talking points, tweeting, "Media's climate change conversation dominated by men." That's what we need, not healthy debate and private solutions, but hyperbole and lots of ovaries.
Yay.
Well, let's get us some of those gametes. It's a lustrous party panel, and tonight we're loaded with genius and glamour. It's Forbes columnist Carrie Sheffield and Monica Crowley, Fox News analyst and radio host, and my secret makeup room confidant. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Hi.
Yes, indeed. It is a party panel of the highest order, and tonight you can decide where we're going with our second panel. I'm going to tell you how to do that a little later on. It's going to be awesome, but first up, let us discuss this climate. Why are people more skeptical now than they were in 2001 when clearly the heavens have opened up and smited us all?
I think it's really because, as you kind of put it in the top of the show, you had all of this moralizing force, right? All this energy started with Inconvenient Truth from Al Gore, which is now like more than a dozen years ago. Where did that energy go? It didn't really go to like an actual policy. There's no treaty that's going to be passed anytime soon.
But the Senate stayed up all night talking about
That was really nice of them, and they didn't pass any bills having to do with climate
they
change.
didn't, did they?
No, No, which is probably for the best for all of us.
Inconvenient truth.
But so it doesn't really go anywhere. Wind and solar don't produce anything. It's not cost effective at all. The only thing that has reduced carbon is fracking, and environmentalists don't like fracking by and large. And so all of this energy just went into more moralizing. So all you can do is try to up the ante so that you become more and more hysterical.
But Chris Hayes' whole thesis in The Nation was about reducing the carbon. The carbon is going to kill us. We've only got 50 years, and then we really are going to be swallowed whole by all our bad choices. But fracking reduces the carbon. I mean, that there's actual data proving that.
I agree with a lot of that, but I want to take it in a slightly different way. Chris Hayes, the sentimentality that is there in his piece is actually mirrored on the right a little bit. There was a gentleman named Alex Epstein who made a few waves at CPAC this year talking about human racism as sort of the motive force behind climate change proponents or proponents of doing something about climate change. Interestingly, trying to hitch climate change or warming in either sense to America's angst about race seems kind of bizarre to me. It certainly elevates the decibel level in the conversation, but it doesn't necessarily add much substance on either side.
Well, Carrie, welcome to the Independence. Where has the conversation gone? Are we going in the right direction, or is there too much hyperbole?
Oh, for sure there's hyperbole. I do want to point out, though, this poll showed that 15% of Americans doubt vaccination for children. Pretty scary. But in general, I mean, I think people are...
Cavallari was one of the respondents.
I mean, people are listening to Jenny McCarthy way too much.
I agree completely, sister. You are just speaking to the preachable choir.
But, I mean, I do think there's a lot of hyperbole that's happening right now. And the fact of the matter is China is the biggest perpetrator by far. China has far surpassed everything that we're doing. Our emissions are doing fine, but China is the problem here. And short of going in and invading China, which Chris Hayes is not prepared to advocate for, there's really nothing we can do from a geopolitical standpoint.
So why isn't that, I mean, when the IPCC puts out these working group edicts, why don't they talk about China? Why isn't that at the very top of the list?
Because the whole mission of the climate change argument from the very beginning, Al Gore and The Inconvenient Truth, had very little to do with climate change, actually, and the real mission of it was radical wealth redistribution on a global scale. That was the whole underpinning of this whole argument. That's why they don't talk about China, they don't talk about India, they don't talk about developing countries that don't really care about their emissions, they just want their economies growing. I mean, you have to think about it in terms of the not just the climate, but what's underpinning all of this. And this is a massive international socialist kind of movement, right? This radical wealth redistribution scheme, moving wealth in trillions from the wealthier countries like the United States and Western Europe to the developing world. That's what this is all about. And the reason why you see these numbers changing, Kennedy, is because the science isn't there. I mean, the UN had to go out and say over the last couple of years that, yeah, a lot of this has been corrupted. A lot of this science hasn't been backed up by the facts. A lot of it is just straight out lies. The public hears that. They looked at the hysterics that have been going on for the last 15 or 20 years and saying, none of this is coming to pass. The North Pole is still there. The polar bears are healthier than ever.
And by the way, one of the alternatives that people talked about for years and years, in addition to solar and wind, were these ethanol-based biofuels. You know, corn and sugar-based fuels, which are actually ravaging Brazil.
They're actually more damaging than gas, than traditional oil-based petroleum.
For a number of reasons. I mean, not just in and of themselves, but the consequences, the circular ramifications from one sphere to the next. You know, when you're talking about displacing species and cutting down and clear-cutting forests, it's...
Ethanol is an up or down vote. Either you are smart and you say ethanol subsidies should be just cut, or you don't qualify to hold public office. It is that bad.
But the petroleum industry obviously wants to stop the ethanol subsidies, because we used to feed people and cows with our corn, but now...
But the Iowa electoral industry says that every Republican and Democrat has to go there and kiss the ring of ethanol subsidies, which is just shameful.
The appropriate course of action is eliminate all energy subsidies.
Yes, and the Electoral College, right, Camille, while we're at it?
We can talk about that later.
We can. And quite a few other things, including you and your votes, because now this is where you get to decide what we will discuss in our second panel segment. We're going to bring the ladies back, and you decide what we chew on later. You've got two story choices tonight. Should we discuss the new American values same-sex marriage poll? Or would you like to hear about Chris Christie vowing to never legalize marijuana because it's going to make him too hungry? You are in charge. Go to our Facebook page now. Follow the instructions. I guarantee you're going to love it. Well, the president has been awfully cagey when it comes to divulging his preferences for killing Americans with drones. Can the most transparent president in history continue to hide from justice? Drones, lists, and terrorists next. Welcome back to The Independent, the most transparent, nightly libertarian-leaning cable news show hosted by a female Virgo in the history of such broadcasts. All right, yeah. The president also likes to think of himself as an open book, unless the book is filled with secrets about potentially killing Americans with drone strikes away from the battlefield. Then he likes to close the book, cover it in cement, and hit you over the head with it. Here he is, in his own words.
This is the most transparent administration in history.
We have put in place the toughest ethics laws and toughest transparency rules of any administration in history.
The most transparent White House in history.
This has been the most transparent government, most transparent administration that we have seen in a very, very long time, perhaps in the modern era.
In the modern era, or in history, or maybe never. Yeah, except for the whole transparency part. The administration has repeatedly tried to sidestep FOIA requests that would allow journalists and citizens to actually view the policy that may get them killed should they land on the wrong column of one of the president's kill lists. Yesterday, the Second U.S. Court of Appeals forced the Justice Department to cough up the goods in regards to who gets the ultimate drone. Gene Healy, vice president at the Cato Institute, well, he wrote about the decision for the Washington Examiner. Welcome back, Gene.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, you link the president's kill list with his desire to be seen as transparent. And how much does this decision hurt that perception?
Well, you know, it's funny. The first time they floated this line, the most transparent administration in history, is Robert Gibbs in 2010, the press secretary, and the White House press corps broke out in peals of laughter when he said it.
Really? All the way back then?
Yeah. How much is it going to hurt him? I don't know, but you're at a pretty absurd place when the most transparent administration in history has to be forced by a federal court to tell Americans when it thinks it's legally entitled to kill them.
We've had an entire post-World War II state of any time that the administration decides that there's a national security thing at stake, it can claim secrecy. Is there any reason to believe that this court ruling is going to change that, or is any other kind of challenge going to change that basic precept of national security equals secrecy always?
I don't think the court ruling is going to change it, because actually the court ruling, like a lot of what we've learned over the last year about the what the administration has been keeping secret, the court ruling depends heavily on an illegal leak. They are allowing the release of this Office of Legal Counsel memo because somebody a few months back leaked, or last year actually, leaked to NBC News a shorter version of the memo. The administration's original response, which it mainly got away with, was this non-denial denial that said the very existence or non-existence of these documents is itself classified.
All right, but this is not too different from Lois Lerner going before a congressional panel, making a personal statement, and then taking the fifth. I mean, you know, they're essentially saying we cannot say whether or not these things exist or whether they don't exist. That's how secret and classified they are. But then they go out and release this white paper.
Yeah, I think it's reached new levels of absurdity, because you're not talking about sources and methods here. You're talking about, in the case of the Snowden leaks, in the case of the telephone call records program, the government keeping secret from American citizens when it thinks it can spy on them, when it thinks it can kill them, and even last year, at one point, who we're at war with. When Senator Carl Levin demanded the list of the associated forces of al-Qaeda that were engaged in war with, the Pentagon said, all right, you can have the list, but you can't release it, because just releasing the names of these groups associated with al-Qaeda might damage our national security by building up their credibility. So we need to keep that classified too. I mean, these are fundamental questions in a democracy. You'd think you'd be allowed to debate what the law is, before you get to decide how you want the law to be changed. But the pattern in this administration has been, you can't handle the truth. It's on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know, unless, of course, the information leaks, in which case President Obama will welcome the debate and then prosecute the leaker.
All right, well, what do we expect to see in the memoranda that we don't already know?
Probably not much. I mean, the DOJ white paper that leaked, we learned that, imminent threat, which is when they're supposedly justified in targeting Americans for death by drone strike. Well, imminent didn't really mean imminent. And we found out, thanks to the Snowden leaks, that when it came to collecting Americans' call data under the guise of relevance, that relevant didn't really mean relevant. So this is all, I think, relevant information for citizens in a republic to have, but you don't tend to get it unless somebody's in the most transparent administration in history, unless somebody's willing to, break the law and risk their freedom in order to, leak the goods.
And is that even a measurable thing? Like, what is the metric for measuring the most transparent anything? Unless you're wearing a see-through dress. Gene Healy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we want to know and we want to hear from our classy panel. What do you think they should talk about in our next panel segment? Go ahead and log on to our Facebook page. There's the address right now, and you go ahead and choose whether or not we talk about the new same-sex marriage poll, or should we go after Chris Christie, who wants to never legalize marijuana? Facebook, follow the instructions. See if people agree with your astute choices. And we have an update on the Palcohol story. That's the one about the powdered alcohol you can sprinkle on eggs or put up your nose. The feds might have developed a case of the powdered yips. Could this be the end for Palcohol? Stay with us. No. Yesterday we told you about a new product called Palcohol. It's packets of powdered alcohol you can add to water and turn plain old municipal sludge into a lemon drop or a Cosmo in a jiff. The Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau has rescinded the label approval for the powdery treat, maybe because there was so much media backlash over a product that's not even out yet. Time.com wrote, powdered alcohol has the potential to be a public health nightmare. Beyond the fact that it's easy for underage drinkers to use discreetly, the potential for users to snort it is serious business. Okay, Time. So anything that might be weird or strange should somehow be banned? What happened to letting people make their own bad choices? They do it in bars every day. Come on, have you been to Isla Vista in Santa Barbara? Have you been to Boston? In fact, if it weren't for beer goggles, Camille wouldn't even be here.
I don't even know what that means.
It means truth.
Okay.
It means truth.
It means hashtag truth.
That's fine.
Hashtag act on jobs.
Yeah.
So there was so much hysteria about this product, and I guarantee you the ATTB said, oh my goodness, people are really freaking out. There could be potential lawsuits, and people might come after the government if we make this thing legal. That's legal in the Netherlands and Japan and probably Germany.
Yes. Informed policy decision or absurd reaction to public outcry or some sort of media attention.
Yeah, or some sort of social media campaign.
Which brings the entire regime into question. One has to wonder about the credibility of an organization that simply turns on a dime as soon as there's a little bit of press scrutiny about an issue. The fundamental issue here, as you mentioned, is that individuals ought to be empowered to make determinations about this stuff on their own. And absent federal regulatory regimes, we actually have a system, a framework for bringing stuff like this to market. Distributors decide whether or not they want to carry it in their stores, for example, and individuals make their own decisions based on legitimate media
By the way,
reports.
underage drinkers have to buy this stuff where they sell alcohol.
Right.
They can't just walk up to a gumball machine, put in a quarter, and out pops a packet of lemon
Already
drop
regulated,
alcohol.
it sounds like. Already regulated.
And it's not like you're going to go there, I really want to huff me some powder.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's better than a California cooler. No, they're not going to have. The great thing about this is that it collapses the whole song cycle. Remember Four Loko, the beer in a can or alcohol in a can? And then,
I'm still hungover.
Yeah, I know. They went from everyone writing these hysterical stories all over the media on this to banning it, probably in New York first, to then banning it across the country in about 6 months. And now they're just getting it down to about 2 days, 24 hours.
What do you think Red Bull and vodka is?
Yeah.
It just, all it did was make the packaging a little bit more convenient so you had an upper and a downer in one place. That's what Four Loko was. It was caffeine and alcohol. It's what you get with a Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
There's Saturday night in the Kennedy house.
Red Bull and vodka is my late night beverage of choice.
Is that true?
When I'm out really, really late. I can't stay up.
I'm an old lady and I don't see you past 10:30, so I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. All right, well, making money the easy way, a bad cop sticking his foot out and getting suspended, and a bunch of foodie do-gooders getting sick of their own regulations. It's the Topical Storm, and it is next. Stay with us. Nothing is more satisfying than sipping brandy in front of a roaring fire. And since I'm out of spirits and I don't exactly have a fireplace, let's get into the topical storm instead. Topic number 1, you can't imagine the excited faces on the adorable fans of the Vandergrift High School Lady Vipers. Their soccer team won the state title, and when the hordes of well-wishers stormed onto the field, one angry cop stuck his foot out and tripped a bunch of the revelers. And you can see him here kicking and tripping. What is wrong with this jackass? I thought law enforcement was supposed to be about peace officers, pride and respect and all that crap. He's turning an entire generation of impressionable soccer lovers into an army of rattly balcos. Shame on you, Officer George Bermudez. I hope someone kicks you in the soccer balls when you're not looking, you spoil sport. Can you believe that video?
I can't believe that video. And he's been suspended, I think, already. He's obviously going through some life issues. It's the best thing in the world.
Those are kids.
I know, but these cameras are so great because it's really hard to be a jackfruit.
Is it appropriate? Is suspension sufficient for tripping kids and potentially injuring them in a serious and severe way? I'm not sure.
No, look at that. Look,
I don't
he's
like
just
it.
getting up. He's lecturing people. Oh, there he goes. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you've
That
obviously
right there,
you've
that's
lost control of the situation.
Flagrant violation.
That's so Bush League, too. Like, she's already passed him, and he's going to...
And by the way, it's a she. She's a high school kid, and he's doing that.
Yeah. You're fired.
My brother wore the badge for a long time, and I'll tell you, he's crying right now, like the earth. All right, topic number 2. Watch this video of Jared Michael Frank, the latest internet star. He became an overnight sensation when a train conductor's foot collided with his head.
Wow, that guy kicked me in the head.
He's Canadian. You can just see the maple syrup squirting down his face. It's so great. Oh, I know. There's an awful lot of kicking in tonight's topical storm. It's not intentional. So he is turning his bruised head into a swollen wallet. His video has over 22 million views, and he's getting ad offers in the thousands since the thing has gone viral. He could make as much as $250,000, and that will pay for his trip to Peru and put him through film school. And Jared, if you let some old lady punch in the Jimmy Sack, I bet you could throw in a new yacht, buddy.
He's going to need the money for whiplash. But are these CPUs or whatever they call it, is this actually accurate? You can make $250,000 if you have some ridiculous YouTube video now?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sure,
if you
absolutely.
get a fraction of a penny for every view. That adds up. I mean,
So
I'm no
my
mathematician, but...
Sponsorships help to contribute to that stuff?
So like my video of the really snowy day on the day after, they got like 10,000 views. I'm going to make...
No.
Did it really get 10,000 views?
Yeah, it was great. It was Snowpocalypse
I guess
in
who's
DC.
buying drinks tonight?
That's right.
I think Dan
His
Hayes'
name
video
rhymes with cat squelch. Indeed. Topic number 3. The Baltimore Convention Center recently hosted the National Food Safety Summit, where experts gathered to talk about how to keep food safe and healthy for all who ingest. You'll never find a safer salad bar, am I right? Well, not so fast. Unfortunately, these food crusaders were sent running for the bathrooms as the contents of their tummies made an emergency exit through both doors, one can assume. The Baltimore City Health Department took quite a few phone calls after the gathering where More than a couple of bureaucrats had a second helping of the irony pie with a side of Hershey syrup.
Oh. Oh, God.
This is the moral of the story is just never eat convention food and never go on a cruise.
And you can't keep food safe no matter how hard you try and regulate it.
Given my motion sickness, I am certainly going to abide by your advice about cruises. Sounds like
They're actually great. But
yeah, I would throw up.
I just have the greatest idea. Ted Cruz should have everyone go on a cruise, and it could be the Ted Cruz. Seriously, I think of these things all day long. I need a little recorder. Just feed the tuna fish mayonnaise. Topic number 4.
in the can.
Jimmy Fallon's team of Tonight Show interns scour every moment of Brian Williams' nightly newscast so they can piece together the stoic anchor's words into popular rap songs. Here's the latest. It's number 4 with a bullet. Brian Williams performing Gin and Juice.
So we go smoke and ounce to this. G's up, hose down while your mother bounce to this. Rolling down the street, smoking and sipping on gin and juice. Laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Yeah, not to be outdone, Fox Business Network's own Charles Payne decided to quote the very same song on this very program. Take it away, Charles.
I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
I'm not sure what this is, but I like it. Yeah.
This is awesome is what this is.
Yeah, Camille assures us that will be available shortly as a gift. You are welcome.
Yeah, that is totally gift worthy.
That is so gift worthy. That is, yeah.
I like this move, whatever that is. I just want to keep doing it.
It's like the angry ferret.
Yeah.
Money on my mind.
Oh, Charles, please come back. All right, our panel is back in moments, and you can decide what they're going to chatter about. The
sun's down, we'll shake around a lot of bodies to keep it warm at night. My tambourine is still shaking.
Oh, hello, and welcome back to The Independence. We'll have the results of our Facebook poll in moments, but first, the Supreme Court has upheld a Michigan law banning the use of racial criteria for public college admissions. Michiganders also cannot consider race and gender in public hiring and public contracting decisions. Justice Sonia Sotomayor sharply dissented, saying this refusal to accept race matters is regrettable. It was a 6-2 vote since Justice Elena Kagan recused herself, but is it regrettable? Our panel is back, Monica and Carrie, indeed. So what do you think, Carrie? Regrettable?
No, I agree overwhelmingly. And it was a 6-2 decision, so pretty convincing. And it's frankly affirming that we in this country, we judge people by the content of their character, by merit, and not by the color of their skin. So I fully agree.
People don't always.
Not always,
but a little rosy.
But I mean, we should. This is the ideal, and this is how we, as our public institutions, this is the standard that we should hold them to. And Clarence Thomas, the only African American on the court, I mean, he has been very vocal against affirmative action, and he says it basically stigmatizes, the performance of minority, individuals to say that it puts sort of a question mark as to their performance, and I think that's a pretty compelling argument that he makes.
And you were pretty fired up about this earlier today when we were putting the show together, Camille.
Yeah, well, if there is something disappointing about our inability to understand where we are on race matters, the problem is all Ms. Sotomayor's. The reality, so far as I can tell, is that affirmative action can't actually fix what's wrong here. If there are folks are underrepresented racially, there may be any number of reasons for that. It doesn't necessarily correspond to discrimination. But what I think we have going on here are competing standards of equality. It's this sense that she can create equality of outcomes when what we really need here is just equality under the law. That is a difficult enough thing for the government to actually provide for us.
Yeah.
The latter is an impossibility.
Well, and the problem is, like you said, using, race quotas to achieve equality. The problem is you have the issue of mismatch. So you have kids who are thrown into an environment and they actually get really frustrated, they get bored, and they drop out because they haven't been prepared. So what we should be doing is spending all this energy that, you know, Sotomayor is putting, all this energy from the left needs to be put on kids and getting them ready for college, not, you know, putting them into a place that they're not ready for.
Should everyone go to college, man?
No, everyone shouldn't go to college. But it's also important to realize that this case really wasn't about affirmative action, or the ruling, I should say, was not about affirmative action. It is whether you can use equal protection laws to strike down a law that says you can't, that you have to be colorblind in making your decision. So
that was the existing law in Michigan.
Yes, but what was struck down, it was the voters passed it. They passed it into the Constitution, saying that we shall not look at color and race when we're judging who gets to go to colleges. And it was struck down by using equal protection laws. And there's something really kind of dissonant about using equal protection to ban down a colorblind law. And so that was the narrow ruling here.
All right, so where do we stand now with...
Well, what's interesting, too, is that affirmative action, like so many other things in this society, started with a very noble intent, right? It started in the 1960s to make sure that all races had that equality, at least of the opportunity. But now we're in 2014, and the country is in a far different place, and discrimination as a legal matter doesn't exist anymore. Now, it may exist in certain pockets, but as a legal issue, it doesn't exist anymore. So what the Supreme Court is recognizing is, first, the right of the voters to have a say in what goes on in their own states, but secondly, that the country now is in a different place.
And it's interesting how often the electorate, the voters, the simpletons can be far ahead of an issue rather than the legislators or jurists in that state. All right, well, we asked you to go to our Facebook page and vote for our next story. The results are in. 66% of you want to hear about Chris Christie vowing to never legalize marijuana. Just 34% want to hear about that new American Values same-sex marriage poll. So let's get to it. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has taken a tough stance against legalizing marijuana. And take a look at the big, rotund governor.
I am not going to be the governor who is going to tell our children and our young adults that marijuana use is okay, because it's not.
Instead, he's going to be
legal. You're not saying that it's okay. Why has this point been?
Because people are dumb. Chris Christie is dumb. Is he waking up?
Adulterated.
Is he waking up in the morning saying he is telling personally all kids that drinking alcohol is okay? Yep. Of course not. Alcohol is huffing glue. You can buy glue at the corner store. You can do that if you want to. He's not telling people that's okay. We're confusing the idea of sanction and then what's prohibited and what's not. He's dumb, and he deserves everything that's coming his way.
There's also this question of the kind of community that people in New Jersey want to live in. Apparently, they're not willing to live in a community with stoners. They want to live in a community with stoners, and stoners who are harassed by police, and stoners who end up getting locked up by police, because that's the choice that you have to choose between. It's not whether or not you can eviscerate drugs or whether or not you have to live with them. You got to live with them either way.
Right. No, I mean, and there are a lot of people who are being thrown into jail for nonviolent offenses for drug-related cases.
And Christie has taken issue with that.
Right, and so it doesn't make sense.
You can't have it both ways.
Exactly. He's trying to have it both ways. And if we want to be the pro-family movement, we should not be locking up, especially African-American men in these prisons for these drug charges that are, nonviolent.
We should be uniquely concerned about African.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying disproportionately. So this is what is concerning.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that Governor Christie is running for president of the United States, and in order to get through a Republican primary, he cannot take a stance that he will support the legalization of marijuana, whether it's in his state, in New Jersey, or as president of the United States. He's got to get through the primary process. He's got to win over the conservative base.
I don't think that's going to tank anyone's candidacy. I really don't. If you look at public opinion polls regarding legalization, decriminalization of marijuana or medical marijuana.
Especially medical marijuana. And this is important because they signed medical marijuana into law in New Jersey before he came into office. And he has dragged his feet every step of the way of implementing the will of the voters in his own state from before he was. That's going to be an albatross.
That's a different issue. The medical marijuana thing is a different issue. But I think the way the founders set up federalism was that the states would be the laboratories for this. So I think a lot of governors, Republican and Democrat, want to see what is going to happen in Colorado, and the social and economic fallout of legalizing marijuana, and in Washington State and so on, before they move on this.
All right, Monica and Carrie, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you on the after show.
You got it.
Aftershock. All right. Well, very good. Coming up next, Airbnb heads to court. Many of us love the online service that lets people rent out their homes and apartments. So why is the government getting up in their business? Stay tuned. Find out. We'll give you a place to stay. What is going on? Are they dropping a ball tonight? Welcome back to The Independence. Millions of people around the world use the online service Airbnb. It allows them to rent out their homes to travelers at much cheaper rates than most hotels. I've used the service. I really love it. But now Airbnb finds itself in New York Supreme Court. So why is the government hassling them? Wall Street Journal video reporter Jason Bellini is back, giving us the short answer.
The Big Apple's become a big problem for Airbnb. The New York State Attorney General's office subpoenaed Airbnb's records and is using its analysis detailed in this deposition filing to show that thousands of New York hosts may be breaking the law. What law? New York's minimum stay law. If you're not a hotel, renting out your place for less than 30 days while you yourself aren't staying there is illegal. What's the hotel industry's position? Well, it's vehemently opposed to Airbnb rentals, arguing that the service is not a true hospitality organization and is robbing the city of lodging taxes. In response, Airbnb says, change the law and it will start charging taxes on guests. That, it says, could net the city $21 million per year. The Attorney General wants to know more about who's renting, asking the state Supreme Court to allow it to subpoena the information from 15,000 user accounts and offering the judge this statistic. 12% of Airbnb hosts make up 30% of New York listings. So are some Airbnb users acting like hoteliers? Airbnb says the vast majority of our community members are regular New Yorkers just trying to make ends meet.
That's absolutely right. So what's wrong? If you've got a place and someone else wants it and you agree on a fee, it might be breaking a series of overregulated, overwrought laws, but what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? Well, that's what Airbnb is saying. You know what? It's just people who are trying to make ends meet. These are expensive cities like New York and San Francisco where people are renting out their place. But the New York Attorney General is saying, that's a break in the law because if, as I said in the piece there, and thank you for playing my piece, if you're renting it out for less than 30 days, the entire apartment, you're breaking the law. And that's why they went to the Supreme Court, because they want to subpoena records from everyone who's been using it in New York for the last 3 years, and Airbnb is saying that's not right. You can't do that.
Well, I'm certainly one of those people, and this has obviously become a very valuable platform. I mean, people are renting out their places. It is just known when you go to a new city, you can find Airbnb because there's a mutually beneficial rating system that sort of keeps the riffraff out. How valuable is Airbnb?
Well, you mentioned riffraff. Before I answer your question, I think it's also worth noting right now, and the Attorney General's office is certainly noting this, that there are some quote-unquote bad actors, and you've probably seen the stories about people who were throwing, or there's one guy who rented out his place and came back and found out there was a sex party going on.
One guy. Like that's not happening in hotel rooms.
True, and then there's prostitution accusations and things like that. So,
also happening in hotel rooms.
Also happening in hotel rooms, indeed.
Never take a black light into a hotel room.
Very, very good point.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing because Airbnb wants to get this law changed.
Yeah.
And
how would it change? What are they actually asking for to make a change?
They want it to be changed so that it is legal for you to rent out your place, and they're willing to pay to charge taxes. Set it up so that they'll charge the same kind of taxes that you'd be paying as a guest in a hotel to make things more fair. The hotel industry, they've got the occupancy tax, the dreaded occupancy tax. They could start charging that. That'll, maybe bring a little bit more parity to the price of where you stay.
But this is what happens basically with everybody, all the Ubers and Lyfts and things like that. People who are new, that are using technology to get around it, they are exposing an existing industry that is just being soaked in tax money. People love to charge extra taxes for hotel rooms because they think it's free money, and then suddenly that free money dries up overnight, and that's when you have these kind of crackdowns, which is...
I mean, what scares me is if Airbnb really is shut down in New York City, the effect that will have on other platforms and sites where people share their services and goods.
Yeah, well, more immediately, Airbnb is vehemently against these subpoenas. Yeah. That would, really give information on people who aren't breaking the law. People, they would be, the Attorney General general, they're arguing, the Airbnb is arguing that this is, you know, a really wide net that is going to get people's addresses, their tax information, all kinds of stuff that, that the government shouldn't have.
Guess what? I'm one of those people. I've used Airbnb in the city over the last 3 years, and I'm very glad I did.
They may have your information soon.
I'm sure they will. Bastards. All right, well, if you liked that story, we have many more like it coming up on a special hour-long show this Friday. Up in Your Business, we're going to be covering all the different ways the government won't leave us alone. You can check it out this Friday night at 9 and midnight only on Fox Business. All right, well, coming up, Keeping It Camille, the Supreme Court, television, and liberty. That's next. Keeping It Camille. Like a beautiful choir of angels. Amen. All right, well, Mr. Camille Foster has his eye on the Supreme Court, where today the justices heard argument on the case of American Broadcasting Companies Incorporated versus Aereo, sorry. Camille. What is Aereo, and why should we be so concerned?
Well, it seems like we're all over the courts tonight. This is another case with pretty broad implications for broadcasters, content producers, as well as internet companies and startups like Aereo. Aereo is a company that effectively is grabbing broadcast signals and amplifying them.
Using rabbit ears.
Using some sort of antenna and amplifying them. These are free broadcast signals, and then delivering them to you online. They started out in New York. They did so for a very specific reason, because there was actually some legal precedent that allowed for a business model like this to exist. What's interesting here is this is, of course, a copyright issue. The problem, however, is that copyright, which is supposed to promote the production of new content, has been used as a bludgeon for a number of years to actually beat back new technologies and to defend incumbent business models. We actually saw this in the famous landmark Betamax case back in the 1980s, when folks were actually allowed to record things on their televisions. I am hoping that the courts actually make a good decision here, side in favor of these guys who are not modifying the content. They're simply rebroadcasting it with the commercials and everything.
They're just grabbing the physical airwaves. It's kind of a great service. What will the implications be if they rule against it, and what will that do to cloud computing?
Perhaps the best way to look at this actually is from the Betamax case again, which had the judges ruled the other way, and that was a very narrow decision. I think it was, I don't remember the exact numbers, very narrow. Had they ruled the other way, we may be in a universe today where we don't have DVRs, which are invaluable to so many people. Some people are watching us right now on a DVR and are going to rewind this because it was so good.
That's right. They're keeping it, Camille. They're
drop
keeping
the mic. I'm
done. Yeah.
Done.
All right, very good. I want to put you on a plate and sop you up like a biscuit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Camille, for keeping it right here. And don't forget, we're on every night except for Thursday at 9 and midnight. Go to our webpage right now. What do we do on certain nights of the week? We do our live web show, After Hours. After Hours. FoxBusiness.com/The Independence. It's going to be a good night tonight because we have a special guest and ways for you to improve your life, and will make you super happy. I guarantee it. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's broadcast. Thank you for loving freedom and liberty. For Matt Welch and Camille Foster, my name is Kennedy. I thank you very much. Good night.